Good evening, everyone, and I wanted to welcome you all to the July 12th, 2022 public hearing to hear all persons interested in the improvement of the wastewater treatment facilities described above to take such other and further action as may be required or authorized by law. The proposed improvements will include, but not be limited to, new solids handling improvements, roof replacement, anoxic zone improvements, wastewater pump station, wastewater disinfection, headwater improvements, inflow and infiltration improvements, and other wastewater treatment plant improvements, including related preliminary and incidental costs, as the treatment facility has not received a major upgrade since it was constructed in 1982. I'd like to open the public hearing. Will the clerk please read the notice of public hearing?
Please take notice that the Webb Town Board will hold a public hearing pursuant to Section 202-B of New York Town Law at the Town Visitor Information Center at 3140 State Route 28, Old Forge, New York, at 7 p.m. on July 12, 2022, to hear all persons interested in the proposed improvements project for the wastewater treatment facility and related infrastructure, and to take such other and further action as may be required by law. The proposed improvements will include, but will not be limited to, new solids handling improvements, roof replacement, anoxic zone improvements, wastewater pump station, wastewater disinfection, and headworks improvements, inflow and infiltration improvements, and other wastewater treatment plant improvements to the project. Included related preliminary and incidental costs, as the treatment facility has not received a major upgrade since it was constructed in 1982. The estimated cost of the project is $4,724,000. Please take further notice that all persons interested in this subject will be heard at this time and place. Dated June 14th, 2022, Nancy T. Russell, Town Clerk.
The purpose of this hearing is to provide the public with an opportunity to comment on the improvement of the wastewater treatment facilities. All comments shall be directed to the town board and be relevant to the topic and shall become part of record. Upon being called upon, please state your name for the record. Please keep your comments to 2 minutes. Would anyone like to speak? Okay.
Can I ask a question, perhaps,
Sure.
of Corey? And maybe it's premature because it's part of the resolution after this. Should I wait till we're
Yeah.
in the resolution?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll close. Having heard all the comments, those wishing to speak on the topic, I'd like a motion to close this public hearing.
I'll make a motion that we close the hearing.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Okay, here we go. This is the one you're all here for. July 12th, 2022. Public hearing for repealing Local Law 1 of 2002. A local law to establish a personal watercraft and specialty prop craft regulation zone on the portion of the Fulton Chain as lies within the town of Webb. I'd like to open the public hearing. Will the clerk please read the notice of public hearing?
Whereas the town board wishes to consider adoption of local law number blank of 2022, repeal of Article 11B of Chapter 190 of the Code of the Town of Webb, which would eliminate the currently existing personal watercraft regulation zone on the Fulton Chain of Lakes. And whereas adoption of this legislation is authorized by New York State Municipal Home Rule Law, Section 10, and whereas Municipal Home Rule Law, Section 20, requires the town board to hold a public hearing prior to the adoption of any local law. Now therefore, be it resolved that the town board shall meet and hold a public hearing at 3140 State Route 28, Town of Webb, beginning at 7 p.m. on Tuesday, July 12th, 2022, to hear all persons interested and take any necessary action provided by law concerning proposed local law number blank of 2022, repeal of Article 11B of Chapter 190 of the Code of Town of Webb, and be it further resolved that the town board further authorizes and directs the Webb town clerk to publish and post a notice of public hearing concerning a proposed local law number blank of 2022, repeal of Article 11B of Chapter 190 of the Code of Town of Webb, and the manner provided by law, and to make a copy of the proposed local law available for public inspection at the town clerk's office following the adoption of this resolution and until the public hearing is closed. Duly adopted 6/14/2022. Nancy T. Russell, Town Clerk. That's it.
The purpose of this hearing is to provide the public with an opportunity to comment on the repealing of the PWC law, the portion of the Fulton Chain of Lakes as lies within the town of Webb. All comments shall be directed to the town board and be relevant to the topic and will become part of the record. Has the town clerk received any letters?
I have received one. Before addressing the proposed PWC law repeal, we want to thank Supervisor Baker and Councilors Green, Gardner, Ross, and Greco in the town departments for doing a great job addressing and executing on our town's opportunities. Thank you. Quick introduction. Candy and I have had the opportunity to be on the Fulton Chain of Lakes since the early 60s. Naturally, over this period, we have observed many changes: more boats, faster and louder boats, new wake-producing boats, dangerous conditions leading to increased injury and death, shoreline erosion, increased user groups, and more. The FCOL is an amazing asset for the town of Webb, beyond which is a major economic driver. We all must do our best to protect these assets while balancing safety, access, and environmental soundness for all user groups, so it can continue to be better for future generations. We strongly oppose the repeal of the PWC law as a one-off isolated action. Our key reasons are Town of Webb Lake governance. The laws put in place decades ago are an integrated framework similar to a finely balanced ecosystem. Changing one law to benefit one user group could have adverse action on all groups. 2, user groups include at a minimum touring powerboats, boat rentals, skiing and wakeboarding, swimming, rowboats, canoes, fishing, kayaking, paddleboard, sailing and racing, lakeside campfires, and more. Each user group may have a different requirement and interest. 3, lake culture. There's a daily cycle of use that has developed over time. Mornings and evenings have much less powerboats than the main part of the day, 11 to 5:30. This allows for non-powerboat user groups to expand usage, feel safer than during the main part of the day. 4, safety first. Our lakes have seen an increase in accident, injury, and death. Before changing anything that could increase risk, we should consider the overall macro environment. More on that in a minute. And through study determine what a comprehensive update to our governance framework could look like. Summary: cherry picking to change one law to benefit one user group at the possible risk of all others seems irresponsible, not to benefit the majority. We propose the town of Webb consider: vote no to repeal the current law, appoint a committee made of various stakeholders to research and study the current lake macro environment. What are the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats of our lake usage? What needs to be improved? Charge this group to come back with research, data, facts, and finally proposals. 3, use this summer to enable Town of Webb Board to use this amazing asset on the nicest Saturdays. Be sure to experience at different times of the day while touring the entire length. Ride with the sheriff. This will allow the town board to have an up-to-date and shared view of assets usage as they contemplate the committee's proposal in number 2. We urge the Town of Webb Town Board to vote no to repeal the current PWC law while using this moment as an opportunity to embrace our recommendations or improve versions. Thank you for consideration. Respectfully submitted, Candy and Kevin Jost.
Okay. I'd like to thank Candy and Kevin for writing that.
The only letter I got.
And we can start the public hearing. Does anyone like to speak? Your name, please?
Bob DiUrio. First,
you.
I have one question. Can you clarify where this, where the Town of Webb line ends? Because I have just spent my whole life here and just learned this year that the entire body of Fourth Lake is considered Hamilton County.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is. Ask around, ask some DEC officers. I actually have a picture of the map. So, at my understanding, that's why I'd like clarification on that. Number 1. Number 2, by being a a property owner on lakes around the lakes my entire life, there's less traffic after 6 o'clock at night than there is all day long. So the safety issue really diminishes significantly. Everyone that grew up on lakes always went skiing after 6, 7 o'clock at night because there was no boat traffic. How is it? So now you're taking a supposedly intense, dangerous rider, sport, whatever you want to call it, and putting them into the mix when it's the busiest, not allowing them to be out there where there's less traffic. So, just a couple thoughts. Those are just a couple thoughts. I could go on for hours, but I'll
Thank
my
you.
2 minutes.
Thank
are
you.
up.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I have a question. Is there a replacement for this, or are we just going to repeal it?
It would just be a repeal.
Just a repeal. So you would go back to the state rules and regulations?
Correct.
All right.
My name is George Peterson. I'm the one that actually brought this to the town board. I did 2 presentations and submitted a petition for 259 signatures on it. And just for the record, the town board arbitrarily does not change codes, laws, or rules on that. For them to change, it takes an action, and the action was me presenting information to them. I'm a canoer, camper, snowmobiler, and I have a PWC. And like Mr. DiOrio said, sometimes my best riding is after 6 o'clock when the lake calms down. I do not do circles, jump weights. I hate rough water. You know, I'm an elderly person, riding these things. So a lot of times I go to a friend's house, I leave at 7 o'clock, they break my chops, say, George, you gotta get off the lake at 6 o'clock. Yesterday was a good example. I was at my friend's house, left at 7 o'clock, went to Dakers, met some more friends, and then went home, and I was home before sunset. The laws are not equal to PWCs when you compare these boats that are out there with twin 450s and 500 motors, and that's, their preference. So all I'm trying to do is make things fair and equal. We all have to respect the lake, we all have to be responsible, and we need to share the lake as a community. I've had boaters tell me that kayakers shouldn't be out in the middle of the lake, they need to ride the shoreline. Canoers shouldn't be in the middle of the lake. I go, I canoe. We ride the middle of the lake because we're going to the straightest, destination. So that was the biggest thing. I did provide the town with, I think, quite a bit of factual information. I read a lot of posts and a lot of its opinions and and feelings, but I did provide the town board in my presentation with a lot of factual information. If anybody has any questions after the meeting, I'd be more than happy to to answer it. But it's time to repeal the law, because if you read the law in its entirety, it makes no sense at all. And on top of that, the bottom part of the law is people that got fined were paying misdemeanor fines under Navigation Law 73B, and it should have been Navigation Law 73C
10 seconds.
for violations.
Thank you.
Sounds like
You were talking really fast.
Huh?
You were trying to talk really fast.
Yeah, I was just trying to get
your,
it
your time then. Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
I don't know if a lot of you know the history as to why this law even went into effect. And why, the reason for it was years ago when there were the rough house riders and the noisy jet skis. You had the Fourth Lake Property Owners Association, the Second Lake Property Owners Association, the newly formed Third Lake Property Owners Association, all wanting to ban jet skis. And so the Fulton Chain of Lakes Association worked with the town to find this compromise. And basically, that's what it was a compromise so that everyone could enjoy the lake, and so jet skis would remain on the lakes. I think it's worked out well as far as people that do kayaks and canoes and now paddle boards. It's a nice time for them during the day, early in the morning, and then in the evening as well, I'm sure, as being on a jet ski. But that is the reason that the law went into effect. It's a safe law, and I hope it remains.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, ma'am, your name?
Martha Dumont. I enjoy going out kayaking in the morning, and I enjoy how peaceful it can be. But there are, and I miscounted, I thought there were a dozen. There's even more than that because some are in boathouses in the little duck bay in which I live. And those kids, maybe not like some of the adults in this room, those kids do circles, jump waves. This past weekend, I literally watched them throwing a ball and racing across the water with another Sea-Doo to catch it without a lot of attention paid to anyone around them. They're just watching the ball in the air and racing for it. They're just inconsiderate. We moved here when this law was in effect. We've enjoyed the current environment. We'd like it to remain that way. It's why we like the Adirondacks. And as far as this law goes, the purpose listed at least 5 different reasons. I don't think all of them are null and void now. The first one is said air and water pollution. Okay, I don't know anything about jet skis. Maybe they don't pollute as much as they used to. Number 2, excessive noise. Yes, they're noisy, especially when there's 2 or 3 of them doing donuts and chasing each other in our little bay while we're trying to watch TV. Or even sit out on our dock. It's ridiculous. Number 3, disturbance and disruption of wildlife. I don't see a single loon when they're out there, believe me. Number 4, damage to plant life. I don't know what damage they do. I don't know before this law or before the new forest strokes. I don't know. Threat of damage and public safety and disruption of tranquility. Yes. They're ridiculous. Now, for the majority of people who are raising hell in front of our place, they're not here to speak up.
10
And all
seconds.
the people who are on my side of the fence who enjoy the quiet, they're probably not here either. But I wish that you'd not repeal the PWC.
Thank you. Anyone else? Hang on, technical difficulty. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Yeah, Jeff Osborne. Yeah, you're talking way back then when the jet skis were 2 strokes, they were loud, I get it. Now everything is so efficient, you know, it's unbelievable. There's no exhaust anymore as far as being loud. How about the through-hole exhaust on these boats? Way a hell of a lot louder than what these jet skis are. And because you have a few bad apples, in snowmobiling, boats, whatever. Don't ruin it for everybody because you have a few bad apples. You know, people with the jet skis are staying in front of a house and circling or whatever. Find those people, stop those people, give them a ticket. And if they do it again, find them again, let mom and dad. They're not going to keep wanting to pay tickets for these kids.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Tom McCabe. I was president of the Fulton Chain of Lakes Association back when the law was passed, and and Heather summed up a lot of what happened at the time. But the members of the various lake associations were against jet skis. We did a survey of our members, and at the time, and we had about 60% of the people return the survey, which this is before email and internet and all that stuff. And they came back, and the majority, by far, of the membership at that time, those that responded were over 100 family units. The majority of them said, let's ban the jet skis, and so our membership was very, very concerned about that at the time. Now, it's true that they were 2-cycle, and they polluted a lot more than certainly than the 4 cycles do today. They were a lot louder at the time, although they're still loud, and there's still some of this, back and forth, around and around for an hour and a half at a time that goes on. And I'm not sure that any law will cover that. The major reason, and I spoke when Hildebrand had a hearing a long time ago. The major reason that the association said that we should maybe have a compromise and do 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. was because at least Fourth Lake and most of the lakes face east and west, and you have a sun glare at about 6 o'clock, and that's when the young Barry boy.
10 seconds.
Pardon me?
10 seconds you have left. You're on 2 minutes. We have a 2-minute, sorry.
Well, I guess I'll ask a question. has the law, to my knowledge, it's never been enforced. Has it been, does anybody in the room know if it's ever been enforced?
Yes.
They are enforcing.
It has been enforced?
I know of somebody who got stopped by the police at like 6:15, yes.
So one occasion, do we know of it?
No, I saw the sheriff chasing some this past weekend too.
But has anybody ever been given a ticket?
Yes,
That has been enforced, okay.
yes.
Because I personally, I know my time is up, but we spend a lot of tax money in the town of Webb in supporting the county, and the county provides the sheriff, and the sheriff provides some coverage of the lakes. And I'm not aware that the speed limits are enforced, that the sound decibel limits have been enforced. You know, and I don't think this law's been enforced much either. So, you know, that's sad. And we as a Fulton Chain hear this all the time. I'm sorry to take
Thank
too
you,
much
sir.
time.
That's all right. Thank you. Anyone else? Having heard all the comments from those wishing to speak on the topic, would anyone like to motion to close the public hearing?
I'll make the motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We'll be voting on this in the regular meeting in just a few minutes. 7:21. I'd like to welcome you all to the regular meeting of the July 12th. I'm going to call the meeting to order, and would you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to thank you all for coming. Please sign in on the attendance sheet and please turn off your cell phones if they're on. The next regular meeting will be held on August 9th at 7 o'clock. August audit of claims meeting will be held on the first Monday.
You'll need to unlock your iPhone.
8/1 at 5:30 p.m. Executive session may occur this evening if deemed necessary. We have some correspondence that we'd like to read. Nancy, would you like to read the Maintain the Chain letter, please?
The Fulton Chain of Lakes Association and the Boone family invite you to participate in the second annual Maintain the Chain event, a self-directed community effort dedicated to bettering the environment, preserving the irreplaceable resources of the Fulton Chain of Lakes in Adirondack Park. Date April 5th through 14th, Adirondack Water Week. Daylight hours anywhere along the Fulton Chain of Lakes or in the Adirondack Park. Register and or donate online, www.maintainthechain.net. Free tote bag for registered participants.
The board received a letter of resignation from Lisa Bennett, the dog control officer, effective 8/31/2022 or 2022. The board would like to thank Lisa for her service. Corey Reed, would you like to talk about the wastewater treatment improvement?
Sure.
That would be awesome.
So yeah, we have completed a report of the improvements to the wastewater treatment facility. And one of the things we'll be doing tonight is the SEEKR, State Environmental Quality Review, of that. And what set this on, so the town had notice of award of $1 million grant to help facilitate some of the improvements at the wastewater treatment facility, which is the disinfection and the headworks improvements was what was submitted on. And due to that, once we get the contract from DEC, that's hopefully going to be sometime this month or next month, they have a checklist that you have to complete, SEEKR, bond resolution, and there'll be a few other things in there to get a contract with them. So one of the things tonight we'd like to go over is the SEEKR of that. And one of the things we were able to roll into the SEEKR as well is that we also did a inflow and infiltration study for the collection system out there. And it made sense that being the collection system brings everything to the wastewater treatment plant. Why not involve that in a seeker at once so we can clear seeker for both the collection system and the wastewater treatment plant all done at one time? So that's what the attorneys had put together. So to start the seeker process, the lead agency letters, the town indicates their intent to be lead agency. We send out letters to all the other involved agencies, and then if they have issues with that, they'll send comments back within a time period. But to date, we have not received anything on that, so indicated the town would be lead agency. If there's any questions too, let me know. We originally did seeker is 3 parts. Part 1 is kind of all the data that we filled out that was sent to involved agencies. And then based on the answers of part 1, there's a part 2 and a part 3 where they go through questions. And I was going to go over part 2 briefly. There's 13 parts in this where there's an initial question, and if you answer yes, then there's other subsections for it. I just kind of want to go over this briefly. And if there's any questions or comments, please let me know. So, without ado, start with the seeker part 2. So the first question is impact on land. Proposed action may involve construction on or physical alteration of the land surface of the proposed site. We checked yes. And the reason we checked yes, there's 2 of them. The proposed action may involve construction on land where depth to water table is less than 3 feet. There's that potential that exists out there, for doing some of the collection system that's close to the river and whatnot. So we checked moderate to large impact may occur. Next question, the proposed action may involve the excavation removal of more than 1,000 tons of natural material. We also checked moderate to large impact, because if the collection system's done out there, we'll definitely have more removal than that. And all the other ones are no to small impact. Question 2, impact on geological features. The proposed action may result in modification or destruction of or inhibit access to any unique or unusual landforms on the site. We did check yes on that. It said identify the specific landforms attached, Route 28. So this one's automatically, when you do the part 1 and you do the bubble that includes the town, it automatically checks this one that Route 28 apparently is unusual landforms or something in there. So we checked moderate to large impact. Next one, impacts on surface water. The proposed action may affect one of the more wetlands or surface water bodies. Checked yes. Obviously, the wastewater treatment plant's right next to Middle Branch and Moose River, so it does have some potential impact. The construction is near or adjoining to the wetland or tidal bank, and then the proposed action may create turbidity in the water body. The proposed action may cause soil erosion, we checked yes, and the proposed action may affect the water quality of any water bodies within downstream of the site. The proposed action, we also checked yes. And then the last one, proposed action may require construction of new or expansion of the existing wastewater treatment plant. So, checked yes. And I forgot to say, when we get to part 3, for all the ones that we checked yes, we identified mitigation efforts to keep the impact minimal. And for most of all this stuff, it's very temporary impact. It's during constructions the most, because then once everything's built, everything's back. Grass is seeded, sidewalks are put back. Impact on groundwater, the answer was no to that. Impact on flooding, the answer is yes. The proposed action may result in development on lands subject to flooding. We had indicated no or small impact for all the questions that follow that one. Next, impacts on air. We checked yes. The proposed action may include a state-regulated air emission source. This one gets pretty detailed, but essentially during construction you're going to have heavy equipment, gasoline, diesel, and everything else. So there'll be a small impact when those are running during construction. Next, impacts on plants and animals. We did check yes. The proposed action may result in loss of flora or fauna. Again, all these conditions, there'll be no or small impact may occur. Again, when we're replacing collection systems, everything's gonna be below, and the only thing outside the wastewater treatment plant we're doing currently is just the disinfection building that's right next to the existing building. 8, impact on agricultural resources. Proposed action may impact agricultural resources. Check no on that. 9, impact on aesthetic resources. The answer was no. 10, impact on historic and archaeological resources. That impact we did check yes. The proposed action may occur in or adjacent to a historic or archaeological resource. The sub questions on that, we checked off basically no or small impact may occur. There are a few places within the hamlet that are archaeological sensitive historic places here and there, but shouldn't be really an impact to those at all. 11, impact on open space and recreation. That was checked no. Impact on critical environmental areas. That was checked no as well. Get to the end here. Impact on transportation. The proposed action may result in a change to existing transportation systems. We did check yes. With one of the questions, we answered yes to. The proposed action may alter the present pattern or of movement of people or goods. So if some of the collection system would be removed or replaced, obviously some of it's in the middle of the road. So there'd be temporary construction measures of lane closure, shoulder closures that would happen during construction, but once it's put back, it'd be back to normal. 14, impact on energy. The proposed action may cause an increase in the use of any form of energy. Check yes. With the chosen disinfection method, UV disinfection, obviously that's more energy that's going to be used at the wastewater treatment plant. That's why I was checked yes. Impact on noise, odor, and light. That was also checked yes. And again, that would be temporary during construction. You have a little bit more noise than is there now. And lastly, impact on human health. The proposed action may have an impact on human health from exposure to new or existing sources of contaminants. And the reason we did check this one yes. The proposed action is located within 1,500 feet of a school, hospital, licensed daycare center, group home, nursing home, or retirement community. And obviously, with the wastewater treatment plant being proximity to the school, we checked the box yes on that. You know, any impact that it may have would be a negative impact from our, you know, with the disinfection, the effluent quality is going to be better than what it is currently. '17, consistency with community plans. The proposed action is not consistent with adopted land use plans. We answered that no, because it is consistent. And lastly, 18, consistency with community character. Question was, the proposed project is inconsistent with the existing community character, and we checked no on that. Any questions on part 2? And then part 3, I'm not going to go through all these, but for all those that we checked yes, we have numerically identified, you know, if we checked yes, what the mitigation efforts were going to be. And most of those, again, are the construction, they're temporary measures during construction that you'd see. And then on there, you know, seeker status, that we checked an unlisted action. You know, again, if the town board seems fit that this would result in no significant adverse impacts on the environment, and therefore an environmental impact statement not need to be prepared. Accordingly, a negative declaration would be issued if the town board agrees with everything established here in parts 1, 2, and 3. So that's seeker.
All right. Now therefore, it is, am I right? It is hereby resolved as follows. Upon review of the revised full EAF and all project-specific materials relevant to the action, and after analyzing and answering all relevant questions set forth in the EAF Part 2, it is hereby determined that the proposed action will not result in any significant negative environmental impact and hereby adopts a negative declaration. The town's engineers are hereby authorized and directed to cause the negative declaration to be filed in the office of the town clerk and with the Adirondack Park Agency, the offices of the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation, excuse me, and the New York State Office of Parks, Recreation, and Historic Preservation. The town's engineers are hereby further authorized and directed to cause notice of the negative declaration to be published in the Environmental News Bulletin. What is the pleasure of the board?
I'll make a motion to accept the resolution as read.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Do you need roll call on that or no?
Oh, yeah, Nancy, that is a roll call vote.
It is
Sorry
roll
about
call.
that.
That's okay. Council Gardner?
Aye.
Council Greco?
Aye.
Councilwoman Green?
Aye.
Councilman Ross?
Aye.
Supervisor Baker?
Aye.
5 ayes.
And thank you very much, Corey, for
Thank you, Corey.
a
Yeah.
lot of work
Yeah, no problem.
and a long time coming.
For sure. You're gonna just say that first. So we're gonna determine the public interest.
Okay.
Now
Determine-
you're on.
Upon the evidence given in the public hearing, it is hereby found and determined that it is a public interest to make the improvements in the district's facilities described in the preliminary engineering report and addendum revised by Addendum 1 dated June 8th, 2022, and appendices at the estimated cost of $4,724,000. The supervisor is hereby authorized to direct BCA architects and engineers to prepare definite plans and specifications for the improvements, to make a careful estimate of the expense, and, with the assistance of the town council, to prepare a proposed contract for the execution of the work. Such project is hereby authorized, and the town supervisor is hereby authorized to take all actions necessary to effect this resolution. The resolution will take effect immediately. What is the pleasure of the board?
Need a motion for that?
Yep,
I'll
to,
make a
is
motion to accept that resolution.
there a second?
Sure, yes.
Is there any discussion on that? Nancy, would you like to do a roll call vote?
Councilman Gardner?
Aye.
Councilman Greco?
Aye.
Councilwoman Green?
Aye.
Councilman Ross?
Aye.
Supervisor Baker?
Aye.
5 ayes.
Thank you.
So this is actually for the bond resolution? You're just gonna, yeah, you're just gonna ask for the resolution and we'll
Okay.
review it.
What's that? The town of Webb Town Board has reviewed the bond resolution and adopt the resolution as written. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Second?
Second it.
Nancy, do a roll call vote, please.
Can I
Yeah,
ask
sure.
that question now,
Yes.
please? Corey, in section number 4, it makes reference to, the town board hereby declares its official intent to use bonds to reimburse the town for such expenditures. My question's getting lost in all the words here. Okay, if we make expenditures in connection with the project prior to the receipt of proceeds of the bonds. So if we have to act on an unexpected early repair of the second half of the roof, which is part of this, but if we do it early, is that what that refers to, something like that, that we could use that to back up that money that we will have to borrow from a different source?
I believe so, yes. The attorney had put that language, that's section
Okay.
4 you said?
Yes. And so maybe that's why that's in there, but I just know that we're looking at doing roof work before this probably is all squared away.
Yes, that's how I would read that.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, that helps,
Yeah.
thank you.
Any other discussion? Vance, can you do a roll call vote, please?
We have Ed, Kurt, and Tommy, right?
Yep.
Councilman Gardner.
Aye.
Councilman Greco.
Aye.
Councilwoman Green.
Aye.
Councilman Ross.
Aye.
Supervisor Baker.
Aye.
5 ayes.
Excellent.
PWC repeal. The board held a public hearing for repealing local number 1 of 2002. A local law to establish a personal watercraft and specialty crop craft regulation zone on the portion of the Fulton chain of lakes as lies within the town of Webb. What's the pleasure of the board?
I would make a motion that we repeal local law number 1 of 2002.
Okay, do I have a second?
I will second.
Do we have any discussion?
We do,
Yep.
if I may. You wanna go first? You
No,
made the
go ahead.
motion. I did talk with the chief, Johnston, who has been in here a couple of times talking about this stuff with us before. The way that the law is currently written, and George has made very clear reference to this, that it is unenforceable as it stands. We have contiguous waters with Hamilton County, and there is no way that you can legally enforce this part of the law, because a jet ski can put in any of the areas in inlet and then ride down into Webb, and they don't know up there that they're not supposed to be doing this down here, so it's not an enforceable part of that law. So jurisdiction is one issue. The location of boat launches is a jurisdictional issue also. The sentencing is incorrect in the law as it is written right now. They're using a misdemeanor where it should be a violation, so that is incorrect in the law. This also did go to, we were sued actually back in around 2022 when this was put in place, and it was deemed unconstitutional is my understanding, and this is conversationally from the chief today, that because it's unenforceable. So on those reasons and all the stuff that George had stated in regards to they are cleaner, they are quieter, it seems discriminatory to isolate one type of watercraft with all the other watercrafts that are allowed. So that's my basis for my decision.
Wanna go ahead?
Yeah, okay. Well, I certainly have put a lot of thought to this. Quite a bit of questions and answers and what to do, what not to do. I appreciate the folks that want to keep the law, and I appreciate the folks that want to get rid of the law. I've been out on these lakes just my whole life, not my whole life, but most of my life out there, putting boats in, taking them out. I worked for a dealership that sold these things. I understand back then, I was on the board back then when this law was made, and they were noisy, they were loud, they smoked a lot, they did a lot of those things that was the reason for the law put in place. I don't remember, but I don't think at the time that I voted yes on the law, but I'm not sure on that one. But anyways, that's not important right now. But things have changed. A lot of things have changed, and I agree with Barb to take one group of people that is using the waters and take them off, make them have to go just in times and that. I just think that's not fair. So, anyways, I put a lot of thought to it, and I think it's time to get rid of this law and move on. And this is just for the Fulton chain. Remember, there are other lakes that this law still is in place, but this is the Fulton chain.
Tommy or Kurt?
Well, I'll say that I have a concern. I do. Being that it's not enforceable is one thing. We're being told that, being that the way the waterways are now and boat launches and everything like that, that this isn't an enforceable law. That being said, we're spending a lot of time on the water and stuff like that. It's gotten to the point where it's crazy out there at times. I mean, there's a lot of boat traffic. It's not just PWC, it's everything. these lakes are packed at times, and it's scary. And where before we used to go out there and cruise around, and now I find ourselves always hiding in a bay and like making sure we're out of the way, because it's not just the PWCs, it's everything. There are people flying around corners left and right, and it's scary. And we had jet skiers smash into each other and hit a boat one time, and we've seen a bunch of stuff out there. My wife had to be involved with rescuing people at one time for that until the fire department could get there. And that's not just PWC in general. I think what I'm saying is I think our waterways as a whole need to be looked at. I'd like to see some sort of study. I'd like to see more police enforcement. I'd like to see more things in place for us to be able to control everything as a whole. So not particularly picking on one thing. So that's basically where I'm at with this. I'm not against repealing it. I'm kind of in between. I would like to see us do more or do a study to find out how we can get more enforcement to control the behavior of our lakes becoming, because the behavior on the lake now is it's not necessarily as enjoyable as it used to be as a whole, and that's kind of where I'm at.
agree with
You know, we need something needs to change, and it's not just one thing. It's the overall picture of being on the lakes. We need to figure out how to, I hate saying control, but rein it in a little bit, because it's getting out of hand.
I hate to jump on board what he's saying, but I've been on these lakes my whole life, like on Lake Shell Road, and this went into place when I was in high school. We actually had 3 jet skis, and we ended up just selling them, and it wasn't a big deal. We just got rid of them. But over time, I'm in the same way. Like, where do we look into how many rentals are going out? You know, from the marinas and stuff. There's nothing that's looking into that. There's boats in general. There's watercrafts in general. It doesn't matter if they're motorized or not. You know, it feels to me the same way that lakes are getting overcrowded. And I don't think it's very fair to keep this law in place when it comes to the bodies of water. You know, how do you enforce it here but not there in the same lakes? And they're already saying that they're not enforcing it, so how do you just keep it? I do have respect for folks in the morning that, you know, go out fishing, kayaking, canoeing, all that stuff. I don't think there's that many jet skis out there before 9 a.m. So, I mean, in my opinion, I haven't seen or heard too many people just out there ripping between, you know, 7:30 a.m. and 9 a.m. That's the one thing when it comes to that. When it comes to after 6 p.m., you know, there's 2.5 hours of sunlight left. I don't think it should go until 8:30 personally. I think it should be around like 8 p.m., but you can't just, you know, change a law like that. It has to be, you know, done this way, in my opinion. That's where I stand on that.
Used to be the pontoon boats were the easy-going, slow things, but not no more.
So if I could add one more thing too, we did, I believe it was 2 years ago now, Dave Bergstresser, myself, Chief Johnston, the Herkimer County Sheriff, the Herkimer County Undersheriff, all met across the street to talk about the jet skis and all the enforcement stuff, and asked them to describe why we can't get more manpower on the lakes. And I wrote a letter based on all the conversation that we had that day and submitted it to all of the Herkimer County legislators and got 0 response, nothing. When I asked for more, we want to know what they can do to help us get more enforcement on the lakes. I didn't even get a response. The supervisor didn't get a response. They made some changes where they adjusted their hours a little bit, but there was no conversation. So it's not for lack of trying for enforcement on these issues.
Wasn't it Chief too that said the first meeting when George was here too, they're like totally out of it? The town of Webb Police are totally out of even going on the lakes. It's off the Herkimer County.
The police
It's left
don't
up to
patrol.
Herkimer County,
Correct.
and you know,
Correct.
who knows, they're out there, who knows when, and there's not enough out there.
If there's a water emergency, the police go.
Yeah.
You know, accidents and such, but yeah, for patrol. So, now I'm done, sorry.
No, you're good,
Like
you're
Columbo.
good. I go. So, I just have some thoughts. George Peterson, thank you very much for your presentation.
Yes.
Totally changed my thoughts. We do have a problem on the lakes. It's called undue concentration on our natural resources. There's too many boats out there. I went out there 2 weeks ago. There's cigar boats that should be out on the ocean out there. I was astounded by the size of the boats, and I can't imagine what the impact is on our lakes right now. So to not I mean, to, not repeal this right now would, it's not adding anything to the problem, in my eyes. You're out there anyway. So, I think the problem is the amount of motorized vehicles that we have on our lakes, and I think that's what we need to look into. And we needed to look into a study on what it's doing to our lakes. So that's just my thoughts. With that being said, do we have a roll call vote, please, Nancy?
Councilman Gardner?
Nay.
Nay. Councilman Greco?
Aye.
Councilwoman Green?
Aye.
Councilman Ross?
Aye.
Supervisor Baker?
Nay.
3 yeses, 2 noes. It passed.
The ski shop and the ski school at Macaulay Mountain. The board authorizes the town clerk to advertise and accept bids for the ski shop and ski school at Macaulay Mountain. Complete specifications are on file with the town clerk, and all bids are to be in the hands of the town clerk on or before 7 p.m. on August 9th, 2022. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion?
Second?
Second.
Is there any discussion on that?
No, man.
Nancy, can you do a roll call vote, please?
Councilman
Yes.
Gardner?
No, every,
Aye.
yes,
Three.
every 3, yeah.
Sorry, 3 yes.
Every 3 years, and then they get extended 2 years, there's an extension on it. So the original is for 3, and then we get 2 one-year extensions, to answer your question. Councilman Greco?
Aye.
Councilwoman Green?
Aye.
Councilman Ross?
Aye.
Supervisor Baker?
Aye.
5 ayes.
A motion that the board authorizes the town clerk to advertise and accept bids for the Macaulay Mountain Chalet concession. Complete specifications are on file with the town clerk. All bids are to be in the hands of the town clerk on or before 7 p.m. on August 9th, 2022. Do I have a motion?
Motion?
Second?
Second.
Is there any discussion on that?
Same thing, like,
Yep.
this person leaving, or, you don't know that?
They have to rebid, that's all. We hope.
Nancy, can you do a roll call vote, please?
Councilman Gardner?
Aye.
Councilman Greco?
Aye.
Councilwoman Green?
Aye.
Councilman Ross?
Aye.
Supervisor Baker?
Aye.
5 ayes.
The CDBG public hearing notice. The town board will hold a public hearing on August 1st, 2022 at 6:30 p.m. at the Town Hall, 3140 State Route 28, Old Forge, New York, 13420. For the purpose of the hearing public comments on the Town of Webb's proposed Community Development Block Grant Program, housing rehabilitation, and other community development needs, and to discuss the possible submission of one or more community development block grants applications for the 2022 program year. The New York State Community Development Block Grant Program is a federally funded program administered by the Housing Trust Fund Corporation's Office of Community Renewal. The program provides resources to non-entitlement communities to enable the development of decent, affordable housing, creatable, suitable living environments, and enhance economic opportunities across the state. The 2022 Notice of Funding Availability, federal funds, has been announced by the Housing Trust Fund Corporation, along with the availability of approximately $40 million of federal funds for the following programs. $20 million, New York State Community Development Block Grant funding for public infrastructure, public facilities, and community planning. $10 million, New York State Community Development Block Grant funding for housing activities. $10 million to the New York Home Program. These amounts are provided as guidelines for expected awards and the HTFC reserves the right to award additional funds, a portion of or none of the funds based on the funding availability. The town of Webb is planning to apply for up to $500,000 in CDBG funding for housing rehabilitation and related activities with the principal purpose of benefiting low and moderate income persons. The hearing will provide further information about the CDBG program and will allow the citizen participation in the development of any proposed grant applications and or to provide technical assistance to develop alternate proposals. Comments on the CDBG program or proposed projects will be received at this time. The hearing is being conducted pursuant to section 570, 486, subpart 1 of the CFR and is in compliance with the requirements of the Housing and Community Development Act of 1974 as amended. The location of the hearing is accessible to persons with disabilities. If special accommodations are needed for persons with disabilities, those with hearing impairments, or those in need of translation from English, those individuals should contact the town clerk, Nancy Russell, by mail at P.O. Box 157, Old Forge, New York, 13420, or by telephone 315-369-6799 during regular business hours, at least 1 week in advance of the hearing date to allow for necessary arrangements. Written comments may also be submitted to Bonnie Baker, Town Supervisor, at P.O. Box 157, Old Forge, New York 13420. The last date to receive comments is Friday, August 5th, 2022. Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
A second?
I'll second it.
Discussion?
The meeting is the 1st, but the comments can come until the 5th.
That's correct.
Okay,
That's correct.
all right.
Any discussion? Nancy, can you do a roll call vote, please?
Councilman Gardner?
Aye.
Councilman Greco?
Aye.
Councilwoman Green?
Aye.
Councilman Ross?
Aye.
Supervisor Baker?
Aye.
5 ayes.
Capital Reserve expenditure. The roof at the wastewater treatment plant is almost complete. The bid was for $307,000 with a change order of $79,000 for a total of $386,000. There's $368,000 in the roof reserve that needs to be transferred into the wastewater treatment plant miscellaneous line. I need a motion for the board to authorize the supervisor to transfer $368,000 from the wastewater treatment roof reserve into the wastewater treatment plant miscellaneous line. The balance of $18,000 will come from that miscellaneous line. Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Second?
I'll second.
Any discussion on that?
Yes, I think we should just note, or for public understanding, that this is one portion of that roof. There is other portion that's gonna have to be done as well. So this is just one segment of it, one half per se, just so you're aware. When we were talking about other expenditures for roof stuff, when I mentioned that earlier, that has to do with the other half. It's an expensive roof.
Any other discussion?
No.
Nancy, would you do a roll call vote,
Councilman
please?
Gardner?
Aye.
Councilman Greco?
Aye.
Councilwoman Green?
Aye.
Councilman Ross?
Aye.
Supervisor Baker?
Aye.
5 ayes.
10-hour-a-week court clerk. Judge LaFountain conducted interviews, and on a recommendation for her, the board appoints Tina Marie Williams as a 10-hour-week clerk. Do I have a motion to appoint Tina Marie Williams as a 10-hour-week clerk to the judges effective 7/11/2022?
I'll make the motion.
Second?
Second.
Is there any discussion on that?
Is it 10 hours or is it 9.5? I guess I've seen both written.
Good point. It could be 9.5, because what 3 works equals.
I understand.
So
Nobody
and
asked for
Steve
10,
Billings
but-
is not around, so I couldn't answer that question.
Okay.
So it could be 9.5.
Okay, so not to
or
exceed 10.
Not to
Not to
exceed
exceed
10.
10. Nancy, can you do a roll call vote, please?
Not to exceed 10. Councilman Gardner?
Aye.
Councilman Greco?
Aye.
Councilwoman Green?
Aye.
Councilman Ross?
Aye.
Supervisor Baker?
Aye.
5 ayes.
We have a memorandum of inter-municipal agreement between the Town of Webb and the Town of Webb Union Free School District. Each board member has received a copy of the MOU with the Town of Webb School. I would like a motion to authorize the supervisor to sign the MOU with the Town of Webb School. A copy of the MOU is on file at the town clerk. Do I have a motion?
I would be overjoyed to make that motion.
Second?
Not so joyous with the rest of you.
I don't even know.
It's the
Sharp.
SHARP program,
Yeah, no,
MOU.
I'll
Oh, he
second.
wasn't
I
here on
didn't see
Monday,
it,
so
yeah.
he can get it. Somebody doing a second?
Yeah, second.
Sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Discussion?
Yes, this is the agreement between the school and the town for the SHARP program to operate in the former Hildebrandt house that is on the school property. It's being renovated, it's nearly complete, actually. So it now becomes a senior center. SHARP program is still gonna be on Wednesdays. It will, once they're moved in, it will be held there. And then we hope to develop other senior programs as well. But thank you to the school for working with us.
Yeah, and they've took on a bunch of the responsibilities, correct? I mean,
The
it's
school did
electric.
the bulk of the work, the town, Nancy's gotten bills. The town is paying for the supplies, like we bought a handicap ramp that's sitting in the side yard that will be, that will access the side parking lot at the school. And they're gonna pay heat, utilities, plowing, all of that. We pay a $2,400 per year lease. So it's a really nice arrangement. And they have police officers that live upstairs, so it's the safest place in town.
It becomes more of our own because we were paying that at the church, correct?
Not that amount, we're
No.
paying $1,000 a year.
1,000 a year.
We were paying cheaper.
But this will be a dedicated space.
Dedicated space and 5 days a week for more
Exactly.
activity. Nancy, would you like to do a roll call vote, please?
Councilman Gardner?
Aye.
Councilman Greco?
Aye.
Councilwoman Green?
Aye.
Councilman Ross?
Aye.
Supervisor Baker?
Aye.
5 ayes.
Sharp Committee. I've created a senior citizen committee to promote and oversee the use of the school's house for the senior activities, including the weekly program known as Sharp. The committee will consist of Margaret Vandelinder, Carolyn Trimbach, Hazel Delavia, Mary Brophy Moore, Linda Grace, and Reed Pop Proper. The committee will be responsible for decisions such as promoting the possible use of the space, determining appropriate uses for the house by senior groups, and acquisition of furniture and materials needed for the Sharp and other allowed uses. The committee would be responsible for allowing access to the house and make sure that the key is secure. The committee may take requests to the board for permission to seek grants or to request additional resources. The committee will also continue to provide support and assistance to the Sharp coordinator. The committee will also continue to make any necessary decisions regarding Sharp, and 1 day per week will be reserved for the house for its exclusive use. Town of Webb Fair Housing Officer. The Town of Webb is committed to prohibiting discrimination based upon race, color, national origin, age, disability, religion, sex, family status, sexual orientation, or the reprise in sale, lease, or rental, advertising, and financing of housing. The board would like to appoint Norm Skiana as the Town Webb Fair Housing Officer. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
A second?
Second.
Any discussion? This gentleman, Norm Skiana, he will be taking care of anything that goes through the CDBG, thank you, I knew I was doing it wrong. Grants that we talked about, we're gonna have a public hearing for that. And so if there's any issues with anyone who applies, Norm will be in charge of that. Nancy, can you do a roll call vote on that, please?
Councilman Gardner?
Aye.
Councilman Greco?
Aye.
Councilwoman Green?
Aye.
Councilman Ross?
Aye.
Supervisor Baker?
Aye. Community Planning and Environmental Associate. Nan Stolzenberg has been involved with our zoning update in the past. She has offered her assistance again with a scope of services at an estimated cost of $3,000. The board members were given a scope of services. What is the pleasure of the board?
Motion to accept her proposal.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it,
Discussion?
but I do have a question.
Yes.
The money, where does that come from?
Buildings. It's also,
'Cause what
there's some
hap-
in zoning also.
I mean,
Yeah,
There's some in
obviously,
zoning.
we
We've got
all
some
know.
in contracts.
There's some in zoning, so it could come from there.
So this is for the zoning review and update, and hopefully brings us to completion on that. It got majorly stalled during COVID, and we have picked back up again as a board to just finalize this stuff. So Nan is working with Andy Getty, and she's going to hopefully do the last 10% of a large amount of work that we did over the last few years. This will bring the zoning in line with our master plan document. So, just so that people are aware.
It got lost, well, it was COVID time, right?
It didn't get lost, but it
Well, we
stopped.
kinda did.
Stopped.
Yeah.
We had a lot of meetings and we talked
Yes.
about all the different things and we got to, almost to a point of being done and then we couldn't meet. And I thought
So we're
we
getting
got
back on
lost.
track with that.
So can I mention one other thing in this process is that we have a new chairperson. The chairperson for the planning board before was Marcia Barker. When she retired, Garrett Hoffman took over, and Garrett would like to be included in our discussions. So
Okay.
he should be invited to that meeting with Nan.
Which would be good because some of those people that were on that committee really didn't show up anyways, right? I
Right,
mean,
right, Marcia did.
Yeah, Marcia did. Marcia was all, in all of them.
But we don't need a committee per se anymore,
Right.
but I did talk to Andy about, because Kurt mentioned Garrett to me. And I've talked to, well, I didn't talk to Andy, I talked to Tina twice, and I've not been able to catch up to Andy, but she was gonna let him know also that
Alright.
Garrett should be brought on board.
Sounds good.
So do you know when this starts, by chance?
We have a meeting with Nan,
The first.
right?
Oh, she's coming in on the
Zoom,
audit.
she's coming via
Zooming
Zoom.
on the audit.
Oh, okay.
We're having a hearing on the first, she's coming on the first, Ian's coming on the first.
Okay, I remember.
Fun had by all.
Yep.
Nance, can you do a roll call vote, please?
Councilman Gardner?
Aye.
Councilman Greco?
Aye.
Councilwoman Green?
Aye.
Councilman Ross?
Aye.
Supervisor Baker?
Aye.
5 ayes.
Okay,
It was so long.
Councilman Gardner, what do you have for us this evening?
Well, the dog park, the fencing's complete down there. The signage is coming in, so basically we're just waiting for the rules and signage to go up before we unlock the gate, for that to be there. The garbage cans in place, picnic table and whatnot. So as things goes on, as the time goes on, you'll see more and more things being added to it. Stuff's like taking a long time to come in, and there's also Living 80K is raising money to buy more infrastructure, so to speak, for inside of there. There is a goal to plant trees in the fall, so right now it's not the time to plant trees for shade and stuff. So as time goes on, you'll see that becoming prettier and prettier, not just a fence with grass. So hopefully in the next 5 days, the signage will be here for that, and it'll be open to the public. And then mountain biking, it sounds like AFTA is going to start building the skills park this summer after all. They didn't think they were going to have a trail builder to be able to do it, but it sounds like they do have somebody on board for the later part of August to build the skills track that's right off the main parking lot there that was designated for it in the master plan. So that's good news. And that's not part of the state grant one. This is a separate thing. So so that's exciting that it seems like they're gonna get moving on that. As far as people have been asking about the high-speed internet going up North Street and out the Rondax and airport and other areas that they've identified as not having high-speed internet. The fiber optic rolls were dropped off this week, so it seems like that's going to start getting trenched in next week. So those areas they'll start working towards that. And that's Adirondack Tech that's doing that, private individual doing it across town land. They got permission from us to do that. So other than that, I mean, the snowmobile trails are looking good out there, and Chuck's getting ready for the trail system, and Macaulay's running pretty good. Macaulay accepts credit cards now for summertime chairlift, so if you go up there, you can use a credit card now to go on that. The system, apparently they love it, and they're super thrilled with the system that was put in there. So,
Kurt, the bike stuff, that's not gonna be underneath that grant that you got?
no, and it doesn't have to be. It doesn't even. It's not needed for the contributing factor of it. So there's basic funds and volunteer hours that'll make up the difference for that in the 5 years are contributing factor of it.
Wow.
So yeah, they have, ACTA has its own private money and the money we have in the budget for this year, but essentially that's not a concern towards our matching funds of the 20% of the.
Wow.
So they're going to move forward with that.
Well, you gotta give them a lot of credit to AFTA. They've been really good.
They've been great. Yeah, they're doing volunteer days. They're going out and cleaning up the trails, all the time, and maintaining the trees. And we're getting great reviews on Google and all that kind of stuff for the community enjoying the area. So it's, and I talked to the mountain bike festival organizers, and even like this year now, there's a lot more attention. NICA, New York State, I'm going to say it wrong, but basically it's the Kids Youth, New York's Kids Youth mountain biking organization. I had talked to him 4 years ago when we started this, asked him what it would take to get something like that to come here, and they said, you got to just build up the trails, and so they actually have contacted them this year. Sounds like they want to come next year and do it. They're talking about coming at the festival and doing some kind of little mini thing. I'm not sure exactly the details, but the nice thing is that there's a lot more people now reaching out, where before in the past it was like 1, maybe 2 bike manufacturers. It seems like there might be 4 or 5 this year that are wanting to. So
right,
the people are recognizing it as a destination, and they're getting utilized. So it's been I think fun. I think that's it.
Thank you. Tommy Greco.
Well, I'd like to just start with just, it's nice to see people here for even just something. I mean, the PWC law, I mean, I get it, it's one-sided here and there, there's 2 sides to it, but just people showing up is nice to see. We have some bigger things coming up here that, I'm ready to go head on into, and I'm excited about, where I think some other people are kind of concerned about when it comes to like what People First is trying to do and what we're trying to do here with, the community development. The short-term rental law, like actually finally getting something in place, whether you're for it or against it, whether you're just trying to gather information. It's just nice to see people around for it. I can tell you what some of you that might not know, up and down, Route 28, between the contractors, the cleaners, the services, the restaurants, everything we have going on right now, laborers, I don't really think people understand that, like, the country of Bulgaria and college kids are keeping our town afloat right now. And in a couple weeks, it's going to get even worse when everybody goes back to school in August and these kids go back to their home countries, whether it is Bulgaria and whatnot, Jamaica, whatever it may be. It might be hard for some people to believe, but there's a reasons that businesses and services aren't open as much as you'd like them to be. Restaurants aren't open as much as you'd like them to be, because that's who's working these places, and these places leave. And it's not people. My thing is just driven towards me because I do own the front door, back door, and now a new place up in Inlet. But it's not just those restaurants where this is coming from. This is coming from cleaners and, you know, laborers, contractors that are doing the work for these places to build. It's just, I feel like I'm excited to go into whether we figure it out or not, to actually get somewhere with it and make a decision that needs to happen on both of those things when it comes to the community development and that short-term rental thing. I think that's Thursday, right?
Yes.
And you know, some people are like, oh, you know, they're curling up, and I'm like, let's go right at it, because it's as bad as it can get right now. And the houses aren't even hitting the real estate market, and they're getting scooped up immediately. Why wouldn't they? Why would you not want to do that if you have the money to do that? And it's very frustrating to see our town just kind of diminish like that when it comes to the community, the neighborhood, the enrollment at the school. That's how strongly I feel. I coach basketball. Things like Kurt with his mountain bike festival. I mean, September and October are crazy up here, and people have just do not understand how busy those months are and how hard it is for people to stay open. I mean, we're serving like 800 people a day meals on the weekends and times, and how hard it is for people to survive on that, to like work. You know, we're closing tomorrow over here. We're not closing. I'm not going to have fun. I have paperwork and tons of stuff to do. I'm closing because I have teenagers and people working 6 days a week, and I feel like we are in a very, you know, trying time where this is not sustainable for the future. Mike's snowmobile event, awesome. Late June, place is packed. Now we're talking, I mean, June and May and June have been full for since we've been over there. It's getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and there's less and less people to be here. So I just wanted to make that clear and state my point on where I stand, where I'm ready to go right at these, you know, things that maybe other people might be worried or concerned about. And lastly, on a positive note, rec center looks dope. I hate to say it. It is awesome. That floor down there is a game changer. It's getting painted right now. It's going to be ready to use next week. I'm going to work with Jackie, whoever else on the rec center committee. I think Daniel's involved with that, and we're going to figure out a schedule to make sure it's being used for, you know, everybody of all ages, and there's people in there. It just looks really, really nice, and I've watched that place be a concrete dungeon, in my opinion, for the last 20 years since it was built when I was in high school. And we've done a nice job of holding events there, 100%, that have brought tourism to this town, which is great. I don't want anything to go against that, and this is not going to do that. But now it's going to be a place for our community and our kids, and that's what, you know, the first meeting when I brought that up, it's nice to see that happen. You know, a few months later we have a check, and now it's going to be a finished product. That's all I got. Sorry to keep you on that.
Thanks, Tommy. Barb?
No, a couple of my things are reaching closure, so the Sharp House and the, whatever we talked about earlier. The only thing I wanted to mention is that Kate Kaminsky, who is a local resident and has a position on the Mohawk Valley Health Systems Board of Directors, they are inviting town residents to come and tour the hospital, and the tour date is our next regular board meeting date. And it's a bus ride down in the afternoon and coming home late in the afternoon. I told her I spoke for all of us and said we wouldn't be able to do it because it would be too tight. We have a public hearing at 6:30. So she has offered sometime between August 20th and September 20th for us to select a date. Any local representatives that are interested, I've already talked to the ambulance corps, but I think we should get as many people as we can to take that trip down and see that Wynn Hospital and just learn what we can about it. So I'll reach out to you guys for dates, and we can each reach out to various other representatives that we think should go with us. That's all.
Sounds good. Mike?
Yes, I have a couple of quick things. I guess first of all, I'd like to thank the community for a couple of weeks ago. I had that vintage snowmobile show, and it ended up being very, very large. Some people hopefully affected in a positive way, but some was negative. But anyways, it was a great event, and thank you for putting up with it. The other thing is out at Stillwater, Scott Gaffney and myself are going out there tomorrow because they have a little bit of an issue with how the garbage is collected out there. It's in a garage that everybody throws all their garbage in, and it's very much a mess. And I kind of said to the people out there, we got to fix that, or our garbage guys are not going to be able to pick it up because it is gross. So we're going to meet with them tomorrow. Terry Perkins owns the garage. We're going to meet with him. I think Joe owns the Stillwater Hotel,
Romano.
Joe Romano, and we're gonna try to figure out how to fix that problem, so, just to let the board know.
It was brought to my attention that, Lowville likes to bring their garbage over and throw it in their dumpster over there, because they have to pay for their garbage.
It doesn't surprise me. Well, and all the people that come off the reservoir have learned that there's a place to dump their garbage. There used to be a dumpster out there, but the state will not allow that anymore because it just got to be a disaster, so it's a problem.
But you'd rather have it in a dumpster or whatever, collection facility you decide to do than in the woods,
Correct.
because that's where it would go.
Well, it's just that in a dumpster, at least the truck can back up
Back
and
up
dump
and do
it.
it, and they don't have to.
This
they
way,
don't
they
have
gotta
to touch
open the
it.
door and they gotta go in this disaster and pick it out of there, and it's just not good. So anyways, we're going out there tomorrow and figure that out.
Sounds good.
Stay tuned.
All right, I have a couple things. Oops, that's wrong sheets. Nance,
Oh, no, you didn't bring it.
you got nothing. It's all back here. I have pages.
You got a lot of people.
I do. Okay, so, received an email from the Chief Johnston reporting that the New York State reimbursement for snowmobiling in overtime related costs, we're getting a check for $29,520. I thought that needed to be said because he gets a lot of grief for overtime, and we do get some reimbursement for that, and some people did not know that. The chief would like to recognize Dawn Schweinsberg, who works with him diligently to collect and track any snowmobile-related costs. She does an outstanding job, and he would like her recognized. Thank you, Dawn. I feel the same way that Chief Johnston does. She's pretty unreplaceable right now. Maintain the Chain has asked us for some money. Last year we gave them $400 to help maintain the chain. They asked for $1,500 this year. We don't have that much, so we need to decide what to do with that. So you guys can think about that.
When do they want it?
Probably no.
Oh,
We pay bills on it.
We pay bills.
Typically, they should be asking for budget time for these things.
right.
Correct. Maybe I'll
Make that suggestion.
make that suggestion for the new year. I've called 2 people about the roof at the George T. Hildebrandt Pavilion, and I haven't gotten a call. I didn't get a call back from Padula at all. And Mike has reached out to Lynden Sheldon again. So that was tonight, so but I just wanted to let you know where that was. All right, I'm gonna talk a little bit about this wastewater treatment plant roof. Sorry, Mike.
Okay.
Last year it was determined that one half of the roof was leaking and it needed to be replaced. So a few weeks ago they went to replace the roof and they started to replace it. And when they went to tie roof number 1 into roof number 2, which is a little bit lower, roof number 2 is rotted and they can't tie in roof number 1 to roof number 2. So roof number 2 needs to be replaced. ASAP. Now, it doesn't make economical sense to wait till next year. Prices are going up August 1st, anywhere from 40 to 60% by the first of the year. If we wait, it'll cost anywhere from $146,000 to $220,000 more come January 1. So we think it's very important that we move forward with that. We are looking into borrowing money from the fund balance, which has to be paid back by the sewer district. And it has to be paid back with commercially reasonable terms, so it's just like bank terms. So I just thought I'd let everybody know that that is coming up. You all right?
It was a hard hit.
It was a hard hit.
And it wasn't that the whole roof was bad, it was the rubber that needs to be attached to it. Is the part that's bad. So it wasn't like this whole rotten roof, you're gonna fall through it.
No.
they just couldn't get the rubber to adhere to the other piece, no
Right.
matter how far they were going into it, so it's unfortunate.
It's quite a change, it's gonna, it's needed. There won't be any rocks up there anymore, or stones anymore, it's just gonna be a rubber roof.
Oh, good.
And it should last another 50 years.
And it's all re-insulated, and it's a big deal.
I spoke with Steve Herkins, he's from the DEC. He covers wildlife management in our area. We have a big problem up here. He's asked us to reach out to all the town of Webb businesses, residents, guests, and workers. He wants them educated and that you do not directly or indirectly feed the wildlife. You have to make sure that your dumpsters are contained. You cannot leave your trash cans out. Bird feeders attract the bear. The bear will come and then you're going to get a ticket. So the bottom line is, if you're caught directly feeding or indirectly feeding the wildlife, you are going to get a ticket from now on. This is a no tolerance message from the town of Webb. Absolutely no tolerance. We have bears right now that are being hand fed. A mother bear and 3 cubs being hand fed. Okay, if they continue to be hand fed, they're going to be euthanized. Bad bear behavior develops over time. And as our season progresses, we don't want to contribute to that problem, nor do we want to contribute to the euthanization of our wildlife. So I please ask everybody to reach out. If you see someone doing it, ask them to stop. Please tell them why. I mean, it's a huge problem right now. Farmers Market. I know there was a lot of reservations about whether or not North Street was a good location for that. I've been down there every week. It's packed. There's people walking. There's people getting rides from Reed proper. It seems like it's really busy, and I'm very, very excited about that. I hope that it continues. There's a short-term rental public hearing at Macaulay Mountain on Thursday. I urge everyone to come. Everyone, please. Don't sit back at home and tell us later what you think. Thursday's the night.
It's also on Zoom.
And it's also on Zoom. We have a street light update. All the street lights in the town of Webb have been replaced. I'm now waiting for an update to find out what goes on next. We have a maintenance agreement to sign with that, so that'll be coming up, but everything's been replaced. Very exciting. The SRO officer at school that we're trying to we're trying to hire an SRO officer at school. So right now I'm in contact with Sergeant Riolo to discuss an amendment to the current collective bargaining agreement between the town of Webb and the PBA to add a position of SRO at the town of Webb schools. There needs to be a special agreement made in reference to vacation time and special duties that will not apply to other officers. The town of Webb and the town of Webb schools will address this intermunicipal agreement that will spell out the funding arrangements and operational control of that officer will stay within the town. So we are working on that so that the school has some protection when school starts up again. I think I'm done. Nancy, you're up.
Yeah, I got another letter.
Oh, I know.
Okay, it says, I'll be totally honest here. After Lavelle did such a great job with the Eastern National Show 3 years ago, we all thought it would be hard to top. When Ed Staub announced that the Vintage Snowmobile show was moving to Old Forge, there was skepticism in the vintage sled community. June in Old Forge will be too busy. The building isn't big enough. There's no parking. I wanted to write this to everyone because I believe credit is due. Give credit when it's due. You guys hit a home run this year. As many shows I've been involved in, the venue is the #1 priority. Parking, bathrooms, and food are next. You had everything covered, so congratulations. Support is the key in pulling things off like this. With everyone you had involved, it appears you had the support. The town, the CAA, the fire department, the food concession, cleaning of the bathrooms, trailer parking, emptying trash, they're all factors in pulling off top-level event, as you know. Mike Ross was stellar in his organization and knowledge of how to handle the logistics and keeping everyone informed of how it was going to flow. Macaulay Mountain was a perfect venue for the dinner. The food was wonderful. Fire department concession was staffed, organized, and quick. North Country Market and Catering left us free items Sunday due to a staffing issue. We started a collection for their kindness. He was shocked. Chip from the agency, from CAA, told me personally they had no idea what this is going to be, and they were amazed at the amount of participation, level of quality the restorations brought. It was a great event. The feedback personally received was great. So congratulations again to everyone involved. You may have some competition with Lowville to get it back in 3 years. Be well and thank you all, Eric Melfi. So, our thing is a hit. And then I do have a fireworks application for Tim Tallman. They're gonna be up on a barge up by Tuttle Road, so Third Lake, on July 23rd. We have insurance, everything's in place that should be. That's it.
May I? Yeah, in a
Not
minute,
yet.
in a minute.
So that's it, this is FYI and fireworks.
So, thank you, Mr. Tallman.
Yeah.
For informing us.
Yeah,
You know,
so it's our normal
doing
people,
it right.
American Fireworks that does our fireworks is doing that fireworks.
That's all we get on that?
Well,
I know.
you know, everybody else just does them, I
I
appreciate
know. No, you're right.
somebody doing it the right way,
You're
with
right.
insurance and.
Yeah, we have insurance and everything and,
Does the town attorney have anything for tonight?
no, he does not.
Okay, now off to the public. Who would like to speak?
Yes.
Yes, Wanda?
Your comment about feeding animals, wildlife, I totally agree. But it shouldn't be implied only as residents. You have tourism here. I've seen every day, every second. And I have approached them with
Yeah.
the kindness of the animals, respect for them. Just as I woke up, I saw 2 little girls right across the way from me approached it, and I got scared because I know that traffic on my corner there it's like rush hour in New York City. It's phenomenal. I mean, you see it everywhere. You don't see the locals doing it. You see.
Yes, and when I reached out to educate everyone. It's,
It has.
yes,
I
all the
re-
tourists and
I re-
workers.
I also recall, we had put up little signs up, saying that you will be fined if you feed an animal, a deer or something, because this is catastrophic.
We have those anymore?
You can't
The lake.
impose on this community with just the residency. It has to be towards, because we know better, okay? We love this, we love our community, why would we endanger that?
Right.
But they have no idea,
Who's doing the finding?
because they're not from here.
I have NCON and our patrol are working on it.
And you
that-
can't find, I'm sorry,
No,
you
that's
can't find an officer to address this either at any given time. It's impossible.
Is it possible, like in Thundera, like, you know, like there's
So we're left with
blinking
this.
signs with,
The signs
don't
would,
feed the
it
wildlife.
should be, it should be,
Fine.
it should be, it should be.
We had
right,
those
there's
at
not, there's
one
no
year, right?
signage anywhere,
We did
really.
have them one time.
We had those, that was the city
they
of
were
New
down
York that
on-
did that,
they
but
were
I
down
don't
on-
think that was a town thing.
were
That
down
No,
was
it
a
was
state.
at DC. We
It
have
should
one at
be.
our store. We
yeah.
actually had it in the back. I had it in like a little filing
That's right.
place, and I took it out and I just nailed it to the front of our
I saw it
door
on your front
because
door.
we
That's
saw
it.
there was like 12 people. You know, and now Kurt and I both tell
Ridiculous.
them that, you know, that you can get Lyme disease and that they can jump
Oh,
really
just-
far, and that will get them to get away from the deer. But they like it's so stupid. But yes,
I mean,
I
when we
agree.
came to
Exactly.
Thundera, there used to,
Exactly.
there was always being signage
Big-
out there
the
for
big
stuff
There
like
was one down
that.
on 12 too, I
Like
think,
blinking.
if I'm not mistaken.
No
Anyone
regards,
else?
no regards.
I have a few more things on the
Yes.
wastewater.
Thank you, Wanda.
You had mentioned the roof. There's, with the seeker and bond resolution that'll be effective in a little bit, there's WIA funding that you could go after as well.
Correct. It just opened, right?
Yes, just opened. Deadline is September 9th for that. Yeah, you know, with the roof or any other improvements, could go after WIA. That maximum grant component is 25% of eligible costs. So just wanted to put that out there if the town did want to move forward. Maybe we could discuss, you know, what that would take and whatnot.
Anything we can get, we can use for that one, because that one's gonna be a tough one.
Yes, Wanda?
Yes, I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
I also have another, issue, I don't ask much of, it's just that it was brought to my attention because it happened to me. We've had flags in our businesses and community here, and the flags are basically waving at any which direction, and the direction is usually the person, and that would be me or anybody else. The guidelines for those tip of those display of flags are on the pedestrian side of the street. I mean the side street. Okay, so when you get a gust of wind, and you know how wicked those winds can get, it's very potential that you can get slapped in the face with that. I was suggested that 6 feet above the ground, where people 6 feet tall and under pretty much would not be interfering with their way of going on the sidewalk and not having to be discarded with this object that doesn't necessarily need to be there.
Okay, I'll look into that.
So
Let's see if there's some regulations or something in the zoning.
I'm not asking them to take them down.
Yeah, no,
I'm
I'm just
asking them
looking to
to
see if
raise
there's
them.
a raise, yeah.
Please,
Thank you.
thank you.
Can I give an update?
Yes, ma'am?
Okay, second week of camp, 50 campers, we're having a great time. They're great this year. It's nice to not have COVID, holding us back or anything. But anyway, beach is open, guards are on, swim classes just started this week. Summer programs, tennis, kickball, volleyball, t-ball, they're all taking place, so we've got a busy summer.
Awesome.
Thank you, that's great. I see all the activity and the kids are everywhere, they seem happy. Anyone else?
I have a question.
Yes.
This law that we just repealed, the watercraft, does that take effect tonight? Or is there a time frame on that?
I think it's filed in New York State tomorrow, so
Well,
it takes effect right away.
really?
Good question.
Wait.
I was looking up and down for the answer.
It does.
Anyone else? Linda?
Yeah, so, just wanted to give a heads up, really, that, there's a project I'd like to pursue. The board has handouts, and I actually do have some too, because I hate when I can't see what's going on, so certainly feel free to get one from me. Basically, I would look to lead a fundraising effort that requires no contribution from the town's budget or from the police budget. We do have a very lucky asset that just sort of unknown in the community, and that is that there is a bloodhound that is trained to be a trailing dog to help in search and rescue emergencies and find lost people primarily. Although there are a lot of applications, a bloodhound has such an amazing nose that it can smell 80 feet below the water, so God forbid there was an underwater search for a cadaver and things like that. These dogs are really great at that. It was donated by the Jimmy Rice Foundation, which is a foundation that donates AKC, it's like CDBG, or dogs to canine handlers. So we do have an officer in town, Mike Ewell, who is a certified canine handler and who was given one of these dogs. And there is not another dog like this until Onondaga County. So the mutual aid benefits of it would potentially help police forces, all of them in Hamilton County, Herkimer County, Lewis County, and Oneida County, of which there are significant police forces there, including Boonville, Utica, Rome, New Hartford, etc., Whitesboro. So it's a prestigious thing. I also think it's a wonderful civic pride thing to have something special like mountain bike trails or a rec center, something that can benefit, you know, we have the largest township, right, and a small police force. I think that search and rescue efforts are potentially life-saving for people throughout our region. But the big deterrent is to have a canine unit, you do have to have a special vehicle. The cost of which for just the vehicle and the upfit and the things that make it a police vehicle is $76,079. I do believe that through grant foundation monies and private fundraising through the various PBAs that would benefit from mutual aid, I do have a fundraising plan. I would like to find this money so that we could have that. And I just wanted to bring it up so it was out there. And certainly I would be so happy to field questions throughout the week. If anybody would like to reach out to me, I would love that. I'm passionate about this because I love our people, and this just seems like a tool that could save somebody I love. So.
Thank you.
I know that there is some things that go along with that we'd have to do some research on. As far as, it's not just the car, but when you have a police dog like that, my understanding is, and I could be wrong about this, but I think the police officer has to keep the car. So the officer would be taking the cars home and coming back, but the vehicle has to be dedicated to that officer and the dog.
Correct.
That
for
is
any given time.
absolutely true.
So
And
there's
it-
just some understandings that we all have to make sure
In
we
the summary.
understand
Yeah.
and look at, but, you know, I mean, we participated in searches in the past and helped out, and, you know, the hound would be good in some circumstances, so.
I think the community relations value too in youth engagement is tremendous and incalculable. You know, getting young people familiar and comfortable with police officers. Now, certainly, it's been brought to my attention that there may be like the town could be responsible to incur insurance costs or maintenance costs on the car. If that is a major issue, then what I'd really love is a estimate of those costs, and I could change my fundraising goal to incorporate those.
I think it's bigger than money, so I would like to sit down and talk with you. I talked with Ron today, and, you know, I've had the weekend to think about it, so I think, and we haven't had a chance to talk either. So I think that's important that we all have a consensus of what we're actually looking at.
I mean, just a full understanding of what the commitment would be, it's, you
Right.
know, it's.
Yeah, I look forward to
It seems
that.
like a positive possibility, so.
Thanks.
Thank you. George?
No, I just wanted to say thank you to the town board for that PWC law. I think we also, voting in general, we do need to do more education. Renters that come up here and Airbnbs, they need to watch their kids. Last week I was on Second Lake, saw a PWC out there, a young girl and a kid on there. Said, that don't look right. So I went up to him and said, is there a problem? Yeah, we're out of gas. My dad said there's enough gas and hit the reserve, but there's nothing. I said, do you have a distress flag? Do you have this? She had no clue, so that's one of the things that makes it bad for, you know, parents don't take responsibility for sending their kids out with the right equipment. The distress flag is so you know that you're in trouble. So education, you know, for boating and PWCs need to be improved probably for the town. But thank you again.
I think they're supposed to, well, quite a while back, they had, if you were on a personal watercraft, you had to have a boater safety course.
That's correct.
They put that in.
Yeah. Yep, that is correct, and that falls under the state guidelines too about the
I
age
think that's gonna
restriction.
happen with all voting. if I'm
Yeah, by
right.
2025, everybody has to have it.
Yeah.
You could take it online,
Yes.
very simple,
Yeah.
No.
Anyone else?
Probably cost $50 or something, right?
35 I think it is.
Okay.
And you can get the endorsement on your license, so you don't have to carry a certificate.
Yes.
Can I get a motion to pay the audit of claims, please?
I'll make the motion.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Can I have a motion to adjourn the meeting, please?
I'll make a motion.
There he is.
Who wants that? Do we have a second? Kurt. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all
Thanks,
for coming.
everybody.